In a picturesque village nestled amidst rolling hills and fields of golden wheat, the sun rose gently above the horizon, blanketing the earth in its warm embrace. Inside a humble mud house, the morning light seeped through small, dusty windows, casting elongated shadows that danced delicately on the dirt floor. On a robust wooden cot, adorned with a patchwork quilt bleached by the sun, sat Mira, a devoted mother whose love was woven into every fiber of her being. Her sari, simple but elegant with its floral patterns, draped gracefully over her slender figure, and her eyes told stories of resilience and tenderness. Beside her stood Arjun, her teenage son, his face etched with the worry that burdened his young heart. Clad in a shirt and shorts, he was the quintessential village boy, with cheekbones high and hair ruffled from the early morning breeze. "Mother," Arjun began, the tremor in his voice revealing the storm of anxiety within. "The drought, it's worse this year. I'm afraid for our crops." Mira, understanding the gravity of their situation, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We must have faith, Arjun. The seasons change, as do our fortunes. Remember, the earth knows its own cycle." Her words soothed him, but only just. The sight of the parched fields, thirsting for rain, was etched into his mind. Yet, in his mother's presence, a seed of hope was planted, one that might soon grow into a solution. As the morning light continued to weave its golden thread through the village, Arjun stood resolute, a plan forming beneath his brow. He would speak to the neighbors, form a committee to save the crops, explore new methods. The mud house, simple yet home, echoed with the whispers of generations past, tales of their triumph and strife. In this abode, love and hope intertwined, creating bonds that stayed resilient against the frail odds. Mira moved to prepare their breakfast, her movements graceful with the practice of years, while Arjun stared out the window, his mind already racing towards solutions. The light growing brighter in the humble home carried with it the promise of a new day, a new beginning. The morning sun cast long shadows across the quiet village. Birds chirped lazily on tiled rooftops, and the ground, dry and cracked, spoke of thirst and time. Arjun walked slowly along a narrow dirt path that curved behind the houses and crossed over to the mango grove at the edge of the village. Each step stirred up tiny clouds of dust under his worn sandals. In the distance, he saw the old well, long forgotten, hidden beneath a canopy of overgrown trees and dry shrubs. The stone wall around it was broken in places, covered in moss and thick spider webs. A crumbling wooden sign lay nearby, its paint faded, a silent marker of something lost to time. Arjun stood in front of the well, staring into the darkness below. The rope was gone. The pulley creaked with the wind, rusted and tired. Beside him, Gadu arrived, holding a long metal chain and a dented steel bucket. His shirt was oversized, flapping in the breeze like a flag of curiosity. Together, they tied the bucket tightly, using every knot they had learned from school and their elders. Arjun slowly lowered it into the mouth of the well. The rope moved down, meter by meter. The sound of the bucket hitting the stone wall echoed eerily. Then suddenly, splash, water, faint but clear. The boys pulled it back up with excitement. The bucket wasn't full, but the few inches of muddy water told a story. The well wasn't dry after all. Arjun wiped sweat from his forehead. His eyes sparkled with a plan forming in his young mind. Hope had returned, not in words, but in a drop of water from the past. Days passed, and the forgotten well became the heart of the village again. With every bucket of water drawn, it seemed to whisper stories of the past, of the times when unity held the village together. Inspired by Arjun's efforts, the villagers decided to organize a celebration, a festival like never before. dedicated to the return of water and hope. On the day of the festival, the village wore a new look. The houses were decorated with marigold flowers and colorful flags fluttered in the breeze. Children painted their faces. Women wore their best saris. The well was cleaned and circled with fresh Rangoli designs. Lamps surrounded it, glowing softly in the evening light. Drums and folk songs filled the air. Masterji narrated the story of Arjun and the villagers' unity. The Makia stood proudly and said, "Let this be a reminder. When we stand together, there's nothing we can't overcome." Water didn't just return, our spirit did too. Arjun was honored on stage with a handmade garland and a handwoven shawl from the elders. He looked down, shyly smiling, then stepped forward and said, "I'm just one of many. It's not my victory, it's ours." The crowd erupted in applause. As night fell, fireworks lit up the sky. Children danced, elders clapped, and the well stood in the middle, a symbol of faith, resilience, and unity. Arjun sat with Gadu, watching the sparks fly above. His mother joined them, offering sweets. And in that moment, beneath the starlit sky, one small village shined brighter than ever before. News of the old well spread through the village like fire through dry leaves. That evening, just before sunset, a crowd gathered under the giant neem tree near the temple. The air smelled of incense and earth, and the tree's shade stretched wide like an umbrella of memories. Arjun stood beside his mother, facing the Makia, the village head. The Makia wore a white dhoti and turban, his thick glasses slipping down his nose as he listened. Beside him sat Masterji, adjusting his pen behind his ear. Men sat cross-legged on charpoys. Women stood nearby with pots balanced on their hips. Children leaned on their parents, whispering and pointing at Arjun with admiration. Gadu excitedly explained how the old well behind the mango grove still had water. Arjun showed the mud-stained steel bucket with a faint liquid. The Makia looked up at the neem leaves swaying above and finally spoke. His voice, though old, held authority. He nodded slowly and said, "If there's even a little water, we must clean the well." Cheers erupted softly. Hope, once lost, had begun to take root again. In the eyes of mothers, the strength of fathers, and the determination of children, Arjun's mother placed a hand on his shoulder. He looked up, surprised by her proud smile. The meeting ended with a decision. At dawn, the villagers would gather to clear the old well. They would dig around it and rebuild the wall that once protected it. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the neem leaves rustled, as if they too whispered, "A new beginning." The morning sun painted the sky in hues of orange and gold. One by one, the villagers gathered with spades, buckets, and ropes in hand. The air was cool, but hearts were warm. Arjun led the way, his eyes glowing with purpose. Beside him, Gadu carried a rusted sickle, ready to cut through the wild grass around the forgotten well. The old well stood half buried in shrubs and weeds, its stones cracked and covered in moss. But now, surrounded by determined villagers, it seemed to breathe again. Master G took charge of the digging. "Clear the top first. We need to see how deep it still goes," he instructed. Arjun's mother, along with other women, cleaned the surrounding area and brought tea for the workers. Even the children helped, carrying small stones and clearing dry leaves. Their laughter echoed, the sound of hope returning. Hours passed. The sun rose higher. Sweat ran down faces, but no one stopped. Suddenly, Gadu shouted, "Water! I see water!" A wave of joy rippled through the group. Arjun peered into the well. At the bottom, faint reflections of the sky shimmered. The Makia arrived just in time to witness the moment. He smiled and said, "This village has awakened, not because of me, but because of its children." Buckets were lowered, filled, and raised. The water was clear, cool, and sweet. That evening, villagers gathered again. This time not to worry but to celebrate. Lamps were lit near the well. Kids ran around it. Women sang songs of the earth, and elders sat in peace. Arjun sat quietly, sipping water from a clay cup. His mother hugged him gently. "You did this," she whispered. He didn't reply. He just looked up at the stars and smiled.
Hi, I'm Orko Ghosh. Hope you are enjoying Toon Tales3, a new channel opened few days back. Hope you are enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Many more new videos to come, and your inspiration, your support is our only expectation. That's all. Thank you.